Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have a lot more fun. My guest today is Tyler Junell from Job Dox. And so, Tyler, can you please start off by telling people your story?
Sure. Yeah. I am a fourth generation tradesman. I'm also an MBA grad. I got involved with Job Dox because it was built specifically for our restoration company. We realized things were slipping through the cracks, and so we set out to develop a software and system that could help us really keep projects moving forward with less effort from the ownership group.
Okay. So, what does we first? How did you go from? I mean, I have never met a guy, at least in recent history, who's a tradesperson and has an MBA. How did that happen?
Yeah, sure. So I didn't set out to be a tradesman. I went to college to study sports management. I thought I was going to be an English teacher and high school basketball coach. I coached high school basketball while I was putting myself through college. And then I had the opportunity to join the administrative staff at the university I was attending. It really kind of opened my eyes to the business side of sports. So I wanted to pursue kind of a more business-based degree to kind of help me in that space.
Hmm.
I was pretty successful, worked for a couple different sports marketing firms during my early career. But just something about it, you can't escape who you are, I guess is the best thing I can say. And trade
Okay.
is in my blood. I love working with my hands. I love helping people work through situations. That's why I'm in restoration in particular. We get to help people who are dealing with oftentimes one of the worst days of their life, right? Their house is just burned down, it's just flooded, they've lost all their belongings, those sorts of things. So I was just really drawn to the idea of helping people. Like I said, fourth generation, so it must be something in the blood.
Okay, so how does this help someone? I mean, I think it's not, is it used for like a normal company that just does remodeling, or is it specifically built for restoration?
It's built for any industry that's really project based. We do have a lot of restoration companies that use us, but we've also got construction companies, we've got plumbers, HVAC, roofers. We even have a wedding planner and a paintless dent repair company for
Mhm.
like cars and vehicles. So anything that's really project based can utilize a system like Job Dox. It helps people by really implementing workflow automation and moving your projects forward without you having to manage every aspect of every project, right? So when I think about, let's take plumbers, for example, right? Because my grandfather was a plumber. He wanted to touch every project himself. He wanted to be at every single project, see every single customer. And that's why his company never really grew. When we really approached, hey, we want to grow this company, we built this system so that Clint, who's the CEO of our restoration company, could take a step back and focus on big picture growth of the company and know projects were still moving from A to B in the manner that they're supposed to be because he can see that in real time from his desk. He can see that, if it's me out in the field, for example, he can see that I got this work authorization signed, I got this equipment set, I built an invoice, whatever that looks like. Um, and all of the tasks that are associated with getting a project moving and completed are all being generated and told to me directly, so he doesn't have to tell me.
Well, there's a lot of other project management software there, as you know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
how does yours differ from the other software that's available?
Yeah, sure. So I think the big difference between Job Docs and like, Service Titan or House Call Pro or something along those lines is that I'm not going to try to fit you into my predefined box, right? If you take on one of those larger project management softwares, they've already built out a system and they expect you to adapt your company into that system and fit inside their box. I take the opposite approach. I want to build out job docs to match your processes and the way you want your company to operate. So when you sign up with job docs, I sit down with you, we have long conversations and we build out workflows and automate your business process based on how you think your company should run. And then we make changes as your company changes, over weeks and months and years.
So explain to me two scenarios. One is somebody who was using another large company software and why they changed to yours and why it works better, and somebody who didn't have anything and how you initiated the program.
Sure. So people who come to us from the bigger softwares really kind of comes down to, we talked about customizing the system for them, but really what it comes down to is customer service, right? A lot of times, unfortunately, in this industry, people get too big for their britches, is the way I like to describe it, right? Service Titan doesn't really care or need you as a company, right? They've got thousands of other customers. And I'm not trying to put down Service Titan by any means, right? That's just an example. Um, we, on the other hand, don't take on a lot of customers. We really want to focus on helping our customers grow their business. And so when we bring somebody on, it's about fit both ways, right? I'm not just taking on every single company that I can get. I'm really trying to make sure that I can help you grow your business before we really onboard you and bring you on.
So tell me how you actually converted somebody from a large company, how your user interface is different, and some modifications you made to help to adapt to the company's specific needs.
Sure. So I'm going to start with the way we modify things. The way we modify things is through trial and error on the user end. We I don't assume to know how well or how your company should run, right? You know your company a lot better than I do. And so I'm relying on you to tell me when things need to be changed. And a lot of that comes from the workflow process. The way it really kind of works is we sit down and we build out a mind map with business owners on how they think their projects flow and every little, tidbit of
So
effort that needs to be taken.
explain to our listeners what a mind map is and how that would look for a specific business, if you could.
Yeah, so absolutely. So mind mapping is a really, really helpful tool. Essentially, you take a centralized idea, right? Which is for me, it's water damage mitigation. And what I do is I write water damage mitigation on a page, I circle it, and then I have offshoots. I just draw little lines to other little bubbles of every little aspect of the project that needs to happen and how we get this project essentially completed and paid. And as I draw those little bubbles off to the side, I think about every single aspect of the project that has to happen, right? So when we bring on a new project, we need to get a work authorization signed. Okay, well, after we've done that, we need to take an initial investigation. We need to do thermal imaging. We need to take moisture readings. So we build all of those sorts of tasks into the system and direct them to the appropriate person in your company based on that mind map and based on all those little tidbits of effort that you have to take to make sure this project is done effectively and appropriately.
So how do you actually build that into the software or adapt the software to that? What would that look like?
Well, so that's really something we do on the back end. I don't expect people to build that in themselves. It's kind of high end technical, but essentially what we do is we take that mind map and we find out exactly where in the project it's supposed to take place and who's responsible for it inside your company. And we generate tasks at an appropriate time based on their role in your company and their role in the project. So, for example, if you have somebody who's always responsible for getting a work authorization signed, as soon as you add a project to the system, that person is being notified, hey, it's time to go get this contract signed. And if you have somebody who's always responsible for invoicing, for example, once you've taken equipment off site, as soon as you pull that equipment out of the system, it's going to notify that person, hey, we need to generate the scope on this, put together an invoice, make sure we're getting paid on this project. And so we build out all of those tasks, we build out different statuses for each project or based on where you're at in each project rather. And so that you can keep track of everything that you're working on.
So I assume you do all this on your phone, right?
Yes, we're entirely mobile optimized. We do obviously have, desktop interface. I we have an app as well. I would say right now mobile web is really our strongest point. Mostly because mobile web is a lot stronger than any app really is. Apps have limitations in terms of data and those sorts of things that you really don't have if you're just on, Google Chrome or Safari, whatever browser you're using on your phone.
So explain the difference between a mobile app and the two things you just described. What are the difference between a mobile app and what you do?
Yeah, so a mobile app is something that's you download from the App Store, whether it's the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, I think is what it's called. Um, it typically those apps have limited function, even things like Facebook or Twitter or whatever app you might be using. It's kind of a truncated version of really the strength of the software, which is usually fully unlocked if you use a web-based platform, which would be a browser like Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Mozilla
Right.
Firefox, those sorts of things. Um, there are ways to kind of get around that where it still feels like an app. So for example, I have Job Dox on my phone, both as the app and I have a shortcut on my phone to the mobile web. So it looks and feels like an app. I just have to click on it. It opens up in a browser for me. So there are ways to kind of get around that, but overall, the major difference is just that app developers have to kind of truncate the strength of their software to fit inside kind of a limited box in that way.
So I've experienced sometimes where something works great on your computer and you put it on your phone, it's not so hot
Hmm.
because it isn't as fast. The stuff doesn't come up. You can't find docs. That's
Sure.
why a lot of people, obviously carry their laptops around because their phone isn't as good. So what you're saying is that with a mobile, what was it called again? Not a mobile app, but the other one, a mobile,
Mobile web. Yep.
with a mobile web, it's just as good as your computer.
Correct. Yes, sir. Job Dox is the limitations that you're referring to. Really, that kind of comes down to who's your phone service provider, right? And what kind of service do you actually have in certain rural areas? That's one of the reasons we built the app because though mobile web is stronger, it does still have its flaws, right? It's hard to use internet on your phone if you don't have phone service.
Right.
And so we built an app that really kind of helps you store information without phone service, and then it'll automatically upload it to your web-based platform once you're back in a stronger service area.
So if I'm out in the middle of nowhere, it's not working, I can still use it like regular, and then when it gets back into mobile service, it'll all connect and update everything, right?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay. So can you give me a specific company? Let's take a remodeling company or something like that, where you've actually worked with them and developed a system and what that would look like.
Sure. Yeah. So if we take a remodeler, for example, right, the way we really start our process is we say, okay, you're in remodeling. What does that really look like in terms of every aspect of this project, right? So, yeah, you're in remodeling, but does that include things like cabinets and countertops and floors, or are you doing like showers and bathrooms and those sorts of things? And so we really try to figure out exactly what your niche is in each of those, broader areas like remodeling or restoration or whatever that looks like. And then each one of those individual, I call them work types, but really what I'm referring to is really niche industry stuff like, hey, I'm a remodeler, but I really focus on cabinets, right? I'm working with a company right now who that's the reality for them. They really focus on cabinets, but they're starting to expand into like bathrooms and showers and those sorts of things. And so what we do is we treat each of those as kind of individual businesses all inside this one platform. You don't approach a cabinet project the same way that you approach a flooring project, right? There are different steps you have to take to make sure these projects are accomplished. And so we work with you to figure out exactly what each of those project types look like from point A to point Z where you're getting paid. And we build all of that out into the system through those tasks I was mentioning. And we figure out the exact way that they all work together so that if you have multiple project types on, one overall project, there's not duplication. You're getting all of the things done at the exact same time.
Okay. Now, how long does this process take and what does it cost compared to other software out there?
Sure. Yeah, so the process is pretty quick, right? For me, it doesn't take me that long to build out all of the real technical stuff. It really kind of comes down to how quickly you can really honestly assess how your business operates from point A to point B, right? And you can tell me exactly how you want all these sorts of things to look. I'll work with you to help build out and think through, I guess, rather, um, how things should work and really kind of, I don't want to say challenge, but really kind of push you to think about things more than just, well, we get a work authorization signed and then we start working, right?
Right.
That's kind of a limited view on how that actually works, right? You've got to think about, hey, I've got to schedule a time to go visit with this customer. I've got to build out the work authorization. I've got to get it signed. Then I've got to, make sure that the statuses move forward, that all my staff knows, hey, we've moved from this is a lead to an in progress project, those sorts of things. So a lot of that is on the customer to kind of get that done quickly. But really, from my perspective, most of the time we have people onboarded within, 7 days or so.
Okay. So let's say they don't have an SOP, a standard operating process, because a lot of
Mhm.
small contractors haven't figured that part out.
Sure.
Do you help them develop that if they haven't got one?
Yeah, so we can help with that a little bit. I've got some templates and stuff that we can use to kind of help build some of that out. But we also have a coaching arm that I'm the managing partner of currently that really focuses on helping those small businesses develop those sorts of things and develop the tools and processes to grow their business. So it's a little bit of yes on the job doc side and a little bit of, yeah, we've kind of have this other thing that would probably be more helpful for you as you're trying to figure this sort of stuff out.
Okay. And now, what does your software cost, and who would be your ideal client?
Yeah, sure. So our software is $70 per user per month, at a minimum of 5 users, so $350. Um, we do have a one-time $1,000 setup fee that covers all of your training, all of the hard costs that are associated with us building out all of this, um, you know, tasks and digitizing your documents because we have remote document signing, building out your price list within the system, getting all your equipment loaded, all of those sorts of things. The ideal customer for us is really anybody that's project based, but the people I enjoy helping the most are the contractor or service business owners who are somewhere around 500 to $1 million in annual revenue, 500,000 rather, who are really trying to take that leap to, make that second million or that fourth million or that fifth million. Because I really think that's kind of where we shine. Statistically speaking, most of our customers on average see an increase of about 200% in profit in the first 18 months of using us, and they save about 15 minutes per day per employee, in time that they don't have to spend managing. So if you have, 4 guys in a crew, which would be considered kind of a small company at this point, you're saving an hour every single day where you're not having to manage every aspect of a project. You're getting that time back where you can focus on growing your business or maybe spending more time with your family, whatever that looks like for you.
So your ideal client's between like a 500,000 and 5 million, if you were picking your
Yes,
niche.
sir. I would say so.
Okay. Um, Now, question is, if people want to do this, how do they get in touch with you?
Sure. Yeah. So you can go to jobdox.com, job-dox.com, and hit Let's Talk. That goes directly to my calendar. You can schedule time with me anytime. I'm always happy to visit. Again, I'm not a pushy salesman type. I want to make sure this is the right fit for you. So if you just want advice on how to, grow your company and see if this is the right fit for you, I'm happy to have those conversations with you. And you can get in touch with me directly from our website.
Okay, great. Um, so you haven't any other one thing I would say, what is your biggest challenge when putting your software in?
When installing it into a
In a
company.
company, yeah, what is the biggest challenge with getting it to work?
So the biggest challenge in making it work is typically you have to be a strong leader to push people to change the way they do things, right? And not even so much in the way we're operating as a business, but people are kind of stuck in their ways, right? You have to really hammer home through those standard operating procedures that, hey, you've got to get these notes put into this system. You've got to make sure that we're, putting our equipment into the system so that we can adequately dry stuff, whatever that looks like for each individual company, right? A lot of times when people fail, and this is not unique to Job Dox, this is overall when using a, project-based software like this, if it's not working for you, it's probably because you're not pushing your crew and your staff to really utilize it to its full power. And so that's the biggest challenge for us is really people really hammering home with their staff that they need to use the system because it's going to make their lives easier, even if it's a little bit of a learning curve for a couple of weeks at the front end.
So do you have any tips or tricks on how to change that behavior? Because that's a challenge in this industry. And since you got your MBA and also worked with sports and also, been a
Sure.
tradesman, changing behavior, I'm sure you're pretty good at it or figured out a way to do it. So how do you get your team to change from the old way to the new way without upsetting everybody?
Sure. Well, so I would say the biggest thing is don't be afraid of upsetting people, right? You should have developed the rapport with your staff where it's okay if you upset them because they trust that you have their best interest in mind, right? And that goes back to a culture thing. You need to build strong culture to make sure your staff really buys into what you're doing. But for me, don't be afraid of upsetting people. Like I can't tell you how many times I've upset people, but our relationship has come out stronger because either I've tried to push something new or they've tried to push something new and we've butted heads, but we both took the time to realize each of us want the same goal, which is the growth of Job Dox or the growth of Mr. Restore, which is our restoration company. And so it's okay to be upset with each other because we trust that we have each other's best interest in mind.
Okay. One last question. Does it integrate with QuickBooks? Does it go all the way through billing and actually send invoices?
Yes, sir. We integrate with QuickBooks. You can do every aspect of your project you can do directly from Job Docs. Like I said, we've got remote document signing, so you can get contracts signed in the field on an iPad or on your phone, or you can send them out via email and SMS text for signatures. We've got full job costing tools. Like I said, we've got an invoicing tool. So we build out you tell us what your line items are and what the prices are. We'll build that into the scope tool so you can generate your invoices and estimates, full media storage. And we've got tons of reporting tools to help you keep track of your company as a whole on a project level, right? So you can see every single project that's in lead status or in progress or what you're waiting on billing for, all those sorts of things.
So it has like an API if you have like some kind of photography program for take pictures and that kind of stuff. It'll integrate with all those, right?
Yeah, so we have an open API, so you can do those sorts of things. We also have direct integrations with things like Company Cam and InCircle, specifically for media storage.
Great, sounds awesome. So if someone just isn't sure whether their software is right for them, they're having some issues with their software company, or they don't have any software at all, you'd be the good person to talk to, right?
I would love to chat with you. Again, I'm a low pressure person. I'm not trying to force you guys into buying Job Docs if you hop on a call with me. I want to see if we're the right fit for each other, right? Because I've had to turn people away because I didn't think I could really help them. And so you can trust that, I'm not here to just make a sale. I'm here to try to help you grow your company, and maybe Job Docs can be a part of that.
Okay, so it's job-dox.com, right?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
You can't forget the dash, or it doesn't
Can't
work.
forget the dash.
Okay, so job-dox.com, they can reach you there. If they have any questions, they should just set up an appointment, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks, Tyler. Appreciate your time. This is very helpful.
All right. Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it.